Well, after a successful hunt on my first afternoon in the backcountry, the next day I packed up and headed on to a different area to continue my Merriam's hunting trip. I got there just in time that evening to locate a gobbler on the roost, and the next morning I slipped in tight to where he was roosted for what turns out to be one of the most unique days of turkey hunting I've ever had.
Down and went the other way. Might have had some hens on the other side of it. See if I can go find him. Came out to this high point right here, and that gobbler and two hens are down in the bottom. There's a deer that's staring right at that strutter. Yeah, that's funny. Like, just enjoying the show. That is beautiful. Heard him fly down and then got with those hens that just immediately went into this low ground, which on a windy day like today, that's probably the place to be. Pretty steep right here. I'm gonna have to try to find a way somehow to get down low and see if I can get close to him. And in this situation with this gobblers with a couple of hens, I don't know that I'm gonna just be able to call them in, but hopefully in this rolling and broken terrain, I can get close to him eventually and maybe get a shot at him. But for now, he's got those two hens all to himself. Watching this tom down here, all of a sudden I heard a bunch of gobbles. Whole group of jakes over there across the valley, and there's a bull elk standing right next to him. Look at that. That is awesome. We got a decent amount of antler growth already. Go from a bull elk down to a strutting gobbler. A whole wad of jakes over there. Look, they look like trouble. Gobbler's looking a little nervous. He realizes he might have some competition here. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in the turkey woods right there. Just as that gobbler and those hens went out of sight, I was making my move down at the bottom to close the distance, and all of a sudden here comes those 7 jakes. Ran the tom off and up this ridge. And now he turned the tables. He looks like he's dominant. He kind of put them in their place, ran them off a little bit. Now they went up this ridge in front of me. And that gobbler is out on the point, the very point, gobbling down over this creek bottom. I got caught in the wide open, but thankfully had this tree to hide behind. So they don't know I'm here, but I don't have any kind of move right now until they drift off. But it seems like those hens aren't with them anymore from what I can tell. It's just that tom and the 7 jakes. Incredible sight. But I need them to drift off a little bit so I can make a move. set up just on the backside of this hill from where those turkeys landed. I sat down here cold. A couple minutes later, a couple redheads poked up off to my left. Then we went back down over the hill, and then all of a sudden, all 7 of the jakes popped up 15 yards away. Then they walked up the hill. But unfortunately, the tom was not with them. So I waited another 10 minutes here and just been watching and listening, called again. Haven't heard or seen anything. But it seemed like when the tom flew over, he went farther than the jakes did. But I think it's been long enough now that I'm going to get up and just slowly start to move that way and see if I can get eyes on him. But even if nothing else happened this morning, it's been an incredible day of hunting. Just working my way along, glassing, trying to find that tom. I look in this grass right here. There's a turkey laying there, just kind of tucked down. It's a male bird for sure, but I don't know if it's sick or injured or if it's trying to hide right there. But it's possible that it, thought it was hidden well enough that it just let me walk by it. But I'll loop around here and just see if I can get a better look at it. It's a legal bird that I can shoot, whether it's a jake or a tom. If it's injured or something, then I'll go ahead and shoot it. That was wild. Apparently a turkey is healthy enough to fly. 400 yards, 500 yards, down across this valley, landed in the creek bottom. It looked like it was an adult gobbler. When he took off flying, and then eventually when he landed, I could see that it looked like he had a full fan. Didn't really see much of a beard on him, and as I was slipping up on the backside of this little ridge right here to glass down into the creek bottom, I could see a turkey's head in the grass right here. I could tell by its head it was a male bird. With, I guess, maybe the turkey's perspective, looking back into the sun, obviously it had to have seen me. I was just glassing it to see what was going on with it, and all of a sudden perked up and just pitched right off of this little embankment right here and went for 400 or 500 yards. But it was just one of those strange situations where I don't know exactly, what the right answer was. If it was a healthy bird that was just resting and hiding, but it was just so surprising when it took off. I was like, oh, well, maybe it's all right. And so I think what I'm going to do now is just work my way down into the creek bottom where I saw him land. If I can find him back in there, if he hasn't gone anywhere, if he's, still just trying to hide, then, clearly it's, the bird is probably sick or injured, and then I'll do my best to, to put it down and, use my tag on it. Well, I just spent the last 30 minutes here combing that creek bottom and kind of the surrounding area where I saw that turkey fly into. And it was pretty easy to look through, without there being a lot of vegetation right now. And I didn't see anything. It's a beautiful cold morning here. I'm back in that same spot that I hunted a few days ago. I've still been trying to figure out exactly what was going on with that gobbler. But I talked to my neighbor who has also hunted up in this area quite a bit, and he said he's experienced similar behavior. And there also happened to be a post on Dr. Mike Chamberlain's Instagram where it talked about a biologist, a turkey hunter, who had documented and wrote about grouse-like behavior from turkeys, that essentially instead of running or flying, that they just would hunker down and let a hunter either walk by and then flush, or just wouldn't flush until the hunter approached within feet. But anyways, I think that's what happened with that turkey, is that it just instead of running or flying when it saw me at first, it just hunkered down there in the grass and was going to let me pass by until I got super close and then eventually flushed. But I'm excited about the hunt today. I'm going to have a beautiful weather day. Meadowlarks are already starting to sing here. It's about 4:15 and I'm going to get geared up and hike back in. I found this group of birds back up in here. They set up ones farther back, called, and they were answering, but they weren't coming this way. These turkeys are just far enough up to the timber I can't see them. It's so frustrating because I could hear the tom drumming. The hens open right there, but just can't get eyes on them. Just waiting for this deer to leave so I don't spook it and have it run back up through the turkeys and possibly spook them off. I think I'm going to get up, move back a ways, get up on that hill that they're on, and then try to move in on them. And there's a little bull in there. I think that's where they're at, and that's why I can't see them. They're just kind of tucked in there. If I get in close enough, I might be able to pull that tom away, or I might be able to get a hen agitated that'll come out and maybe come looking and bring the gobbler with her. Just around the corner from me. They were starting to work this way to the point where I almost thought I was about to see them. And something must have spooked them. But predator. Hard to say what, but they kind of scattered and are putting right now. I've got eyes on them for a while. As I was moving up here, got within about 70 yards of them. They went around the corner here and up into another little bowl, and they've just been hanging out in there. But there's a whole bunch of them. It was more than I thought. A little bit more than I bargained for. I would rather hunt, one or two birds that are gobbling that are willing to come to a call, but hopefully eventually get a shot at this longbeard. But it's pretty tough when they're all grouped up like this. Lots of eyes to pick you off. Just got real close right there. Worked my way into this group. Got within about 55, 60 yards. They were just working the edge of the timber back and forth. Another time they got up, maybe a touch closer, but there was too many turkeys in a group. I have not spooked them yet. They're still comfortably just working their way back and forth through this timber. Doesn't seem like I'm gonna call one out of the group. I just keep making moves until I spook them or get one. It's 11:30 right now, and lost track of those turkeys for about 45 minutes. But I just relocated the flock here, and that whole group of birds is kind of spread out throughout the upper part of the drainage. You can see turkeys laying in the shade. There's a couple longbeards that are up moving around right now. There's some hens up moving around. Made a big loop to try to get around them, and they eventually picked up and left and came maybe a quarter of a mile back into this drainage, and they've been hanging out back in here middle part of the day. It's actually getting pretty warm. I'm just gonna use the terrain here again and try to close the distance on these turkeys, and we'll see. Still on them. Oh yeah, they're right there. See a strutter. Just won't come over this way. That group of turkeys is just over into the next patch of trees. There's a longbeard strutting back and forth through there. I ranged the trees over there, and he's between 55 and 60. Well, it's just a little too far. Need him to close another 10 yards or so. There's other turkeys that are starting to filter out now. They're starting to head the other way. Yep, it's that whole group. Yeah, they're gonna go the other way. There's one of them, that one Tom's putting on a show. Pop and strut. Pretty out in that sun. Turkeys are starting to drift away. I'm giving it a few minutes here to make sure that that's the direction they're going. A lot of times when they're just in a group like this, they're just kind of floating and feeding and loafing throughout the day. They'll start to move off in one direction. Next thing you know, you go to make a move, and all of a sudden they're just coming right back to where you were. But they've been heading in the same direction for a while now. They're about 125 yards away. Looks like they're heading towards another drainage, which I can just back off the hill here and get around and try to get in front of them. Just kind of a game of cat and mouse when they're all grouped up like this. Tried calling, tried to pull the toms away, but they're, obviously they're with a bunch of hens and jakes. Not interested coming to the calling. We got a pretty good ways ahead of them here, I think. Just check one more time before I make the final. Oh, dang it. Dang it. They're going right back towards where I came from. I was afraid that was going to happen. They're making their way back across that open field towards where I just came from. I'm going to have to hustle. I might be able to still get ahead of them. Got him. Be quiet here for a second while these other birds scoot off. Oh, there is a bunch of jakes, good grief. Finally got in front of them. It's clear. It has been a rodeo today. Got on these birds pretty much right away in the morning, and it's got to be afternoon by now. 1 o'clock, 1:11. Finally caught up with them. Well, I've been with them the whole time, just finally got within range of them. I popped up right here just because there was a big tree behind me that I could get up and look and scan across. I thought they were actually going to be a little bit farther to my right, but I wanted to check just to make sure I didn't go past them and potentially spook them. And I look up, first thing I see is his fan. Top of his fan over the top of this brush right here. I just got down low, set everything up, raised the camera up, and they were walking across left to right. But when he stepped out, there was a bunch of other turkeys around him, so I had to wait for them to all separate, and that absolutely hammered him. He didn't flop. He's just laying there. Kind of unconventional. I'd rather, work a bird, call it in with a setup and get good footage, but beggars can't be choosers when they're all grouped up like this. I guess these jakes are moving off. I'm gonna go look at them. Yes, finally. Pick that up. That's 10 yards, 18 yards, 19 yards. And he did not flop a bit. Got to watch that big, beautiful fan all morning long. Love it. What a gorgeous day here. Hunting Merriam's. That is awesome. The start to the western part of my season has been an absolute blast so far. Got one about a week ago now. Then I came over and hunted this spot about 4 days ago and wanted to get back here as soon as I could. And not a lot has changed as far as the way the birds are acting. They're pretty much all still grouped up together. They didn't gobble a lot once they got down off the roost, but there was enough vocalization that I could keep track of them and eventually found the group. And then you saw how it all went down. It was just stayed with them throughout the entire morning and into the middle part of the day. And, got myself in the game, got close to them, but was just being really careful that I didn't spook them because there was, I don't know, there was at least a dozen turkeys in that group, if not more. So there's lots of eyes to get past. So I just use, the terrain, cover, shadows, just moving slowly, doing everything I could to get in close as I could, but yet not
not spook a turkey and ruin the opportunity. So it was kind of painstaking and frustrating at times, and on multiple occasions I had these 2 toms within 55 to 60 yards. And I know that because I use a rangefinder. I have a rangefinder on my chest pack. My chest pack is handy for keeping all my camera gear in, and batteries, cameras, power banks, stuff like that. But I attached a rangefinder holder onto the side of it, and I use it's a Vortex Crossfire HD 1400 rangefinder, and it's super light. I mean, you don't even notice it, but it's something I like to bring along for turkey hunting, just because get in situations like this in more open country where I try to keep it to 40, 45 yards, even though that gun is capable of killing them well beyond that. And there were several occasions today where these toms looked like they were close enough to shoot at. And then I would get the rangefinder out and I would see it'd be 55 to 60 yards. And I think that's where some people get in trouble sometimes, is that it looks close enough, but if you don't have a rangefinder and you don't know for sure, you can easily take shots that that aren't high percentage shots and end up wounding birds. When I was hitting those distances, 55, 60 yards, it was like, nope, that's too far for the shot that I want to take for my self-imposed limit, and I was totally fine with it. That doesn't bother me at all. But what would bother me is to force a long shot or a shot through brush and end up wounding a turkey. So that is just beautiful. Bluish green iridescence, and you got the black bands and the white tips, and they're gorgeous birds, and I love hunting them in this kind of country.